That's exactly what it is. It always is. Listen, there's not a lack of ideas from a standpoint. I mean, listen, they can listen to what you're doing. They can, Jimmy Maggins putting a ton of stuff out. You know, it's the real opportunity is who's going to do the work. Because somebody's going to do it. You know, I always tell people this, and this is the way I typically I'll end things that I'm talking to people as well. I'll say, somebody's going to have their best year ever.
Right.
Why not you?
Right.
But the ultimate reason why you're going to have your best year ever is because you're going to do things differently. You're going to work harder than you ever have. You're going to bring more value to the marketplace. You're going to sharpen your skills like never before. So somebody's going to have that best year. Why not?
Why not you?
Yeah.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to have my buddy Jimmy Burgess in the house. So, dude, for the person that maybe hasn't read anything from you on Inman, which, you know, you should, right? You should. Who is Jimmy? Give him a little background, help him understand.
Yeah, 30 years in the business. I'm about to turn 54 well over half my life. You know what I mean? It's
right there with you, brother.
I don't know when we became the old guys, you know, with all the experience. I don't know when this happened. You know what I mean? And so I started out, my mom and my father, actually after they got divorced, they both ended up, my dad moves 45 miles away, starts a real estate company, grows it, sells it. My mom starts a real estate company. I'm like, I'm never getting into real estate, as somebody said at some point, you know? And then ended up after coming out of college, going to work for Merrill Lynch for a year. I was like, you know, I don't know if this corporate thing's for me. My brother and I came in, started selling. You know, this is back in the 90s, like 109 transactions with me and him and his wife as our assistant, and just started really building and growing there. Then just kind of
109 sales in your first year?
No, this was like our fourth year. This was like our fourth year.
Okay, because someone's like, whoa.
No, but Tom, you know, this is the thing you got to understand. I mean, this is back in the late 90s. I was in a rural, if you can't tell by the accent, I was in a rural area at that time. You know, we had
lower Manhattan?
L.A., Lower Alabama.
Lower Alabama, baby.
That's exactly right. So literally we were there, and so we were selling everything. I mean, double wide. I mean, you know, we were doing it all, whatever it was there, you know. And so our average sales price was like $69,000.
Yeah.
So then what happens is I'm in this area in Northwest Florida where all of a sudden this little beach town that I grew up around, you know, I grew up 30 miles north on a little dirt road up there.
Yeah.
All of a sudden this 30A thing starts happening.
Yes.
So I feel like I was like in college and I went to happy hour and the party came to me.
Right.
So then all of a sudden now here we are. My office is 30 miles from where I grew up.
Yeah.
And we're in the midst of an average sales price in excess of $2 million.
Right.
So it's like everything began to change. So I've done everything from the transaction side to the luxury side to really beginning to move from the sales side into more of the executive role. We were purchased by Home Services. Obviously, our mutual friend, Gina Blafari, has just been an amazing mentor.
Shout out to GB.
Yeah, I mean, And so after we were purchased, you know, for the last 2.5 years now, I've been the CEO for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, beach properties of Florida.
Congrats, man. That was pretty darn concise too.
Oh,
Bang.
thank you. Thank you.
So I'd love to ask you a bunch of questions, but I want to start with, if you were a brand new agent today, or you're a veteran, 10, 15 years in the business, 20 years in the business, and you know, the person listening to this, think about it. You just feel like you lost your way. You feel like you lost your mojo. You feel like you lost your swagger. So brand new or veteran who's lost their swag, what's the Jimmy advice? What do they do to get back on track?
Well, two things. I mean, the thing is two different things. I mean, first thing is happy agents sell more.
Yeah.
So whatever that is for you, what is the part of the business that you love? If you're an experienced agent, and I've always said this growing up, if you lose your way, go back to the last place where you had it.
Yeah.
So typically that's going to be some of your past clients. Who was the best transaction you've ever had?
Yeah.
Invite them to go to lunch.
Right.
Get back in that zone where you were excited about the business, because when you're excited, you're going to do more. Go back if you're a new agent. Spend time around agents that are doing stuff. Don't sit around the water cooler with everybody else in the office, or not going into the office. Spend time around other people that are actually doing this. And if you don't have it locally, get some coaching. I mean, get involved with a group. You know, I've always told people ask me about, you know, coaching in your organization specifically. I say, hey, look, the coaching is phenomenal. It's gonna give you ideas. It's gonna give you things, but it's the community that makes all the difference.
1,000%.
So absolutely get yourself around those people that are excited, and it'll rub off on you. You know, I mean, it's absolutely just critical that you get back to the place where you were, or if you've not been there yet, get around other people that are already there. They'll move you there.
It's so interesting you say that, because I've always believed like ideas create inspiration, right? Like so my mentor Jay Abraham would say to me, Tom, every 18 months, you've got to reinvent yourself. You got to do something radically different. You got to bring something new to the marketplace. You got to do something for your clients that's special. And he goes, and all of that, all it really does is it gets you fired up. It gets you excited to go call people. But I want to go more tactical. I'm 2 years into the business. I got in at the tail of 21. I had a flurry of transactions, and all of a sudden it just feels like the wheels came off, plus this whole NAR thing. And it just feels like I'm drowning in just the noise and the drama. So your first piece of advice is, hey, spend time with, get yourself right. Because nobody buys from energy sucking vampires,
exactly
right?
Yeah.
And then watch what the best agents are doing. Even if it's like, can I bring you coffee? Yeah. Can I drive you around to your appointments? I'll do anything to spend time with you because success begets success. But beyond that, what are the tactics of marketing or calls or door knocking, or what do you recommend to that person?
It's just get value. And so I'll use this example. I know in 100K in 100 days, y'all's program, highlighted one of the things that I did and that we really teach our agents, which is the unsolicited video CMA.
Yes.
Giving value without an expectation always yields value back in a way you can't imagine. So here's the program. I'll just give you the background. When I was in sales, I did this. I started and I was like, I'm going to do this in the last quarter that I was in sales. I said, every single day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to find somebody that I'm going to give a unsolicited, they haven't asked for it, video where I'm going to record my screen. I'll give you the exact how to do it. I'm going to give them a video CMA, updating them on their value. I'm not going to ask them if they want to list their house. I'm just going to give freely and know that freely it will come back. So basically what this is, and there may be new agents that are here. If you've not, if you're a new agent, I'll guarantee you with the way the market is now, there are some agents that have left the business in your office that had sales in the last 3 to 5 years. Go find those orphaned clients.
1,000%.
Begin to do that.
I love
we
that.
had a brand new agent said, I don't know anybody. I just moved here. I said, hey, just go to your neighbor. Just say, hey, listen, I'm trying something new. I just love your feedback on this. If you don't mind, I'm going to send you an email and then I'd love to get your feedback. Sends this unsolicited, going through the value of it, sends it to him, runs into him 2 days later and says, hey, listen, just want to get your feedback honestly on this. What do you think? And he said, I didn't want to say this because you're new, but actually we're getting ready to sell our house. That was his first list. So just do the work. You're going to get the results. If you are an agent that has been in the business a little while and you want some momentum, if you'll go out and give freely like this, you will absolutely begin to get that momentum back. Now, here's the thing. Here's how it looks. I'm going to just give you, write down exactly what you do. First thing is you're going to have 3 tabs. First tab you're going to have is you're going to have Google Earth pulled up. What we're going to do with Google Earth is it's going to capture attention. I used BombBomb. You can use, that's exactly right, because anything that comes to me that has that GIF, whatever you want to call it, that comes in from outer space on top of my house, I'll promise you I'm clicking that. Ours are 80 to 90% click-through rates on those emails. So we're coming in with that, and we're basically showing them how to, coming in, starting right out of the gate. Hey, it's been a little while. Just wanted to give you an update on your value as the market is changing. Just know if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, but I'm going to show you a couple things. Boom, we go right into the comps. We're going to go right into I use the MLS. You can do it as high-tech as you want. I went very basic. MLS, here's the 3 that are on the market now. Here's 3 that are, a couple that are pending. Here's what sold in the last 3 months. Based on this, I haven't been in your home in a little while, but just want to give you an updated idea and a range of your value. Listen, if you wanted to know exactly what to sell for, take me 5 minutes to walk through the house. I can tell you exactly what it'll sell for. But just wanted to give this to you. As a matter of fact, also, I know you're probably wondering, what would roughly my net look like? Third tab, estimated seller net. We're going to come in on the estimated seller net. We're going to give them a range, and we're going to fall in that range because we want to generate the call if they're curious. For sure. But we're going to show them roughly what that means, minus any kind of mortgage they've got, any kind of prepaids or anything they've got to do as far as their comps they've got to have to as far as their closing costs. Once we get that number, we're just going to say, hey, listen, and by the way, if you're ever curious about where this value is in the future or where it was today, all you got to do is come back, and this is the key. On your line there where you got your subject line, we're going to basically say their address, valuation update. So in that, when you're doing this, you're just simply going to say, come back to your email and just Google your address or valuation update. You can come back and see where your value was here in May of 2024. Now, here's the kicker on this. I did this pre-pandemic. I shifted out of the sales side into the executive side. I did not make a outbound call for 18 months. The pandemic hits. With BombBomb, all of a sudden I start getting these little notices and it says, bing, somebody just watched your video. Guess who I called? So not only did I take, and I did 72 of these initially. And in 3 months from the time that I did that, and then the 3 months following, I listed $11 million worth of property. Now, we weren't selling everything back then pre-pandemic, so it was like $9 million. I broke this down. It's $3,600 an hour activity. Now, here's the thing. Some people will say, but Jimmy, your average sales price is higher than mine. What if it's half? 1,800. I was doing 30 minutes every morning. I mean, the biggest mistake I made is not doing more. What if it's a quarter? You're still at $900 an hour. What do we, show me the money. And here's the thing is, after that, without doing anything follow-up, because we're always like, you've got that incentive. You're doing something where you stay top of mind. 18 months later, the pandemic hits. I listed an additional $5.4 million without any contact with those people after that for 18 months because they remembered it was different. So if you're out there and you're wondering, what can I do right now to get some momentum? consistency.
Yeah.
One a day. If you'll do one of these a day, promise you're going to generate some business.
You know, I was talking to my dad yesterday, and he's going to be 79 coming up in a few weeks, and I can't wait for him to play golf on his birthday. It's going to be fantastic. When I reflect back on the work that my dad has done in this industry, whether it's, with you or I or Gino or Dave Liniger or Gary Keller, like you can just go on and on, all these legendary men and women, Barbara Corcoran, on and on. I think the one thing that he brought to this industry more than anything else was work ethic. And I'm sitting here, like if I could wave a magic wand across the entire industry, you know what I would wish for? Work ethic. Right? Because there's no shortage of ideas. Yeah. There's no shortage of needs and wants and customers that are waiting for the ideal agent. But I think when you look at like the degrees of separation between like what makes someone extraordinary, like why is Maxine Gallons, my client at 85, still killing it and having one of her best year ever? Like I think she's been selling real estate longer than you and I have been alive, right? I love you, Maxine. If I'm wrong, you'll let me know. But I've worked with Maxine for like 23 years. She has a work ethic that is simply second to none. And she's had it, as she told me when I once interviewed her, since she was like 9 years old. How do we help the person that's watching this who maybe just doesn't have that? Yeah. How do we get them to get that drive?
Let me give you the mentality. This is something that happened to me. I come out of college. I'm the youngest broker in the state of Florida for Merrill Lynch at that time. Yeah. I got this great guy. I'm from the South. We got all these manners. I get a mentor who is from New Jersey. I mean, he's to the point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, direct.
So literally, second day, I walk into the office. Yeah. He calls me into his office. He's got a key in his hand. And he said, Jimmy, I'm just going to be honest with you. You're not going to be the smartest one here. He was right. I mean, I'm 23 trying to get financial advice, but it was a little hurtful. You know what I mean? Sure. But I'm listening. Yeah. And he says, but let me just tell you this. You see this key right here? This is your key to the office. He said, I will promise you, if this key right here turns those locks in the morning and is the first one here, and if this key is the one that turns those locks as the last one to leave, everything else will take care of itself.
That's right.
Tom, to this day, when I go to that office, I turn the keys in the morning and I turn those locks and I say to myself, I may not be the smartest one here, but they ain't gonna outwork me. Promise you they aren't gonna work for me. Yeah. And if you've got that mentality, not only does it give you the ability to do more, it gives you confidence. Yeah. When I walk in and I'm meeting with a seller or a buyer and I know that nobody's outworking me and nobody's gonna work harder for those folks, I got a confidence that I don't have to say it, they know it. Yeah. It comes through in the energy you have.
For sure.
So if you're wondering, just start taking the steps. Yeah. Start doing that. And it doesn't have to be first in, first out. Listen, nobody's going to have the work ethic I've got. Our new guy. It's not norm. There's a bunch of people that do, and those are the ones that are superstars. Yep. But just find what it is for you. Yep. And, we're in a place where maybe the office is not what it used to be. Yeah. So, I had a couple of our people, they say, well, I don't come into the office, but how do I do this? I say, make it a trigger. When you walk into your home office and you flip the light, that's you.
Showtime.
It's showtime.
Yep.
Let's go. Yep. And so at that point, whatever that looks like for you, understand when you are doing the work, you will have the confidence and it will be magnetic. Yes. You will absolutely draw the right people to you.
I'm going to give you another point of view. I think that everybody walks around with a story, right? The story of, if you read, I think it's actually right here, Carol Dweck's book, The Growth Mindset. She talks about, you're somewhere between 4 and like 8 years old when something happens and you decide, I'm either going to lean in for the rest of my life and be super curious and say, I want more, or you're going to pull back a little bit. And both of those are just a conversation in your head. So I want to speak to the person that's maybe over here that says, I'm not comfortable making phone calls. No one cares. That's the first thing I'm going to say to you. You have a confirmation bias. That's what it is. Without being political, let me be political. When you look at the divide in the U.S., and you can certainly go to Canada, you can go to almost every European country, it's the same everywhere, right? I was with a friend of mine who has the RE/MAX master franchise rights for all of Israel, right? And every time I'm there with him, he's like, Tom, it's the crazies on the far right and it's the crazies on the far left. Everybody else in the middle just wants to raise their family and have fun and yada, yada, yada. But even that's a bias, right? I took one piece of information and I created a bias about it. What biases have you created around work ethic? What biases, what is the story you've told yourself over and over again? You don't understand. My hip hurts. I was in this. When I was 5, I wanted a pony. I didn't get it. Everybody's got a story, but the second you could acknowledge the story, that's when change begins. The moment you could say, hello, my name is Tom and I'm an alcoholic, right? Then the journey of sobriety begins. The moment you could say, hello, my name is Tom and I've forever said I'm afraid of cold calling for some weird reason, I have no idea why, that's how it starts. So what is the story you're holding on to be true? And if you could just reverse it and say, what is that story costing me? When I get people to acknowledge the story and the cost associated to it, and we all know the Dickens pattern. If like Tony Robbins does this thing where he'll say, okay, let's keep that story going and let's go 10 years in the future, what happens? 20 years in the future, what happens? 30 years in the future, what happens? And if you can get that person to visualize how dark and how deep they go down that bad path and then pull them out of it and say, now let's go 1 year into the future. Right? Just 1 year. You started making the calls. You started doing the work. You started having the aches and pains, but doing it anyway. Having the fear, but picking up the phone anyway. We're a year out. We're 5 years out. We're 10 years out. We're 20 years out. What happens? The contrast is so real for people emotionally. And I think that's where it all starts. Like my dad had work ethic because he was raised by alcoholic parents who he says, I didn't have any memories until I was like 7 years old. So by the time I got into school, it was be competitive in sports because I wasn't the smartest guy. And then when I went to work, right, when I was like, I think he was first in title and then, then in real estate. And he's like, when I did all this stuff, he's like, I looked around and said, what are these people doing? They're sitting inside the office. No one is walking in here to buy a house from him. I have to go outside someplace. And God bless his first manager, Pat McVeigh, who said, go knock on every door in this subdivision in Huntington Beach. Here's the script, go, right? He did it because he wanted to avoid the past. Right? So you're either stuck in the past if you're in your head and you're not working hard, right? Here's the thing. No one cares. You want to have some real fun? Google the death clock today, answer all the questions and realize how finite the game of life is. Man, we're all going to die, Jimmy, but like, I want to be on my deathbed surrounded by people that I love, knowing that I put it all on the field every day. What are you doing August 27, 28, and 29 other than joining me and thousands of others at this year's Success Summit, the 21st year of doing it? And here's where it's all going to start. It's my prediction. I've only made 4 of them in 3 decades. My prediction is between now and the end of the year, all the way through 2027, there's going to be absolutely no change. Yes, inventory levels the same. Interest rates, if we are lucky, they'll be in the mid 6s. There's going to be no change except for the changes that you make. And if you're looking to get ahead of the curve, be a forward thinker, spend time with top agents and people that are aspiring to do even more. If you want to learn the very best listing attraction, AI tools, marketing tools, systems and processes to build your business, and most importantly, get some time back, because this is the market for the unforeseen future that I encourage you to check out this year's Success Summit.
Yeah, and I think as we get to this point, and like what you're talking about, I mean, listen, you and I are roughly the same age.
Yeah,
I'm here. We're coming into this summer. What am I going to do this summer? How am I going to make a difference? And I think sometimes for me, it gets to a point of legacy also. Now, where am I at? How many families am I going to be able to help?
Right.
Because I think when you can get to that core fundamental of what is it that truly drives you?
Yep.
What is it that truly drives you?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be difficulty come.
Yeah.
But that's going to help you push through that. And you can change that narrative.
Bingo.
I do this. I'm 14. I got a 17-year-old son now. He turns 14. And, we're on this little beach town. It's not the same as it was for me. I mean, I grew up working from the time I was 12, on the construction side. But my son turns 14, and I said, hey, Fisher, is his name. I said, Fisher, you're a Burgess. You just turned 14. You know what we do as Burgesses? He said, what's that? I said, we work. It's time to go get a job. Mm-hmm. And so, listen, I grew up doing this.
I love it.
He rides his little electric bike down 30A, scoops ice cream for $20. I said, but he's working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But understanding that you can change this narrative.
Right.
The things that you want are just on the other side of getting past that comfort zone and doing it. Just take action.
Yep.
Listen, calls, one's better than none. Make the first call. I promise you it'll lead to the next one.
One video, 2 videos, 5 videos, success begets success.
Absolutely.
You create momentum. It's funny, I had David Goggins on my podcast like 3 times. In the last one, we did like a call in. Someone was like, David, how do I get comfort making phone calls? He's like, you need to make 300 phone calls a day. You do that for 50 days. You will love making. I was just like, God bless David Goggins. All right, let's go a different direction. August 17th. The world has a slight adjustment in residential real estate. Let's do some role playing. I'll be the seller. I'll be the buyer. You're the agent. So, Jimmy, everything you said sounds fantastic. I mean, here in 30A, I already know my property is going to sell super fast. So why would I need to offer a fee to the buy side? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And this is the thing. I think we need to bridge this always.
Yeah.
My mom raised me to be the thermostat, I guess you could say. Listen, when people get heated, and sometimes people are just asking questions just to get a rise out of us.
Right.
So what I like to tell them, what we're teaching right now is, hey, start by building the bridge.
Yeah.
So listen, I'm really glad you asked that question because there's a lot of misinformation out there. What is that you've heard?
Well, I mean, I just keep reading in the Journal and the Times that, basically the decoupling, I think was the phrase that they use. And it was sort of the end of 6% commission. And the other thing that really stood out for me is I guess home prices are now going to go down because of this.
Listen, obviously, as you know, the media, sometimes you're going to get a little bit of a different view of what's fact. So let me give you a couple of things that are true out there.
Yeah.
And let me tell you a couple of things that I'm really excited about this. First off, I'm excited because there's going to be transparency now.
Yeah.
There's absolutely more transparency. And as an agent, as a professional agent that has always provided net equity sheets, that has talked about what we're going to be doing, this is really going to be a separation season for the professional agent like myself. So I'm really excited about this. But let me just share you some of the facts. Right now, what we're seeing is, and the statistics show us, that almost 95% as of today are still offering this. So it's like it's an extreme amount of people that are still offering some type of a compensation to the buyer's agent.
Yeah.
Now, think of it this way. If I'm a good agent on the buyer side, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the full picture. So if we've got 4 or 5 homes that we're competing with as far as selling your home, imagine that agent on the other side comes in and they say, okay, look, here are the 5 homes that fit the criteria you're looking for. These 4 offer the commission to be paid by the seller. This one does not. If we go with this one, odds are you're going to have to pay this commission. Do you think that those buyers are actually going to possibly eliminate that, or are they going to negotiate even harder if they do fall in love with your place?
I mean, that makes sense, Jimmy, but I read that, the vast majority of buyers today, and it's the same thing my wife and I do. We're going to find the property on Zillow and, we're going to fall in love with that thing and we're just want to go see it, like regardless of.
Yeah. Well, the way that the changes have been now, and this is the way the law is set, or the rules are set up right now, is that basically we're going to come to the place where every single person that sees a home that is listed in the MLS is going to have a buyer's agent that they have to sign a buyer's agreement. So at some point, there's going to have to be this. So if you're going to be in that situation, let's just roll this round. Let's say that you're the buyer now, because obviously I'm going to sell your house. I'm going to be your agent forever. And we're on the buyer side, and I come in and I tell you the same thing I just mentioned to you. How are you going to react to that? Are you going to negotiate more on that buyer side, or are you going to be looking from a place of, hey, I think I'm just going to focus on this?
Well, I would imagine that I would just add it into the negotiation, that I would say, because I don't want to come out of pocket, right? So, I know the seller's sitting on a ton of equity. So I would say to you as my agent, hey, let's go ahead and write it in with an appropriate fee that we agree on and see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about that, because ultimately the bottom line would be for us to maximize your sales price. By going ahead and understanding what that is, we're going to actually have a place where we know what your net's going to be.
Yeah.
We're going to also cast a wider net. My job is really to get as many people through the doors as possible so that we have the ability to find that person who's going to fall in love with it, create momentum in a way that gets us that highest price. We're going to negotiate from a bottom line perspective, everything there. But for us to be able to cast that widest net right now, we're probably going to need to be offering this. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, let's switch gears. I told you earlier, a couple of my clients, we've been pushing buyer agency since we started the company 21 years ago. It's always been a thing for us. But around 2018, it started to, you could sense it was in the air. Something was going to happen, right? Something was going to change. And a lot of things changed, right? When Trump came in, and this is not a political thing, it was the gentleman that had been in charge of lobbying for NAR retired. And when he retired, now I'm like, Joe Hanauer, a bunch of my mentors that have been around for a long, long time were like, when that guy stepped down, we were suddenly on thin ice. So I knew in 2018, do 2 things: get people to be super aggressive on listing more houses, take care of your past clients since we're like never before. I was the biggest fan of Net Promoter Score, CSAT when Zillow did that, reviews on clients, 1,000%, like we're going to win because we're going to do it right. But I also knew if we don't get them ready for buyer agency, we're going to be in trouble. So now here we are today, right? It's still a lot of people are confused. And yet I look at Ken Pozak. Ken got 108 buyer agent agreements signed in the month of April. So let's play the game. Ready?
Yeah.
You've been showing me houses for the last 3 months. How do you get me to sign a buyer brokerage agreement now?
Yeah. So a couple things, obviously. Hey, listen, we've had a good time showing these houses. Hopefully I've exceeded what you wanted me to do. I'm
For
giving you
sure.
value. Can you see
you're
where
great.
that value is? Okay, great.
Yeah, absolutely, Jimmy.
Well, the next logical step is obviously for us to go in and actually formalize this a little bit, where I'll be acting as your buyer's agent. Now, let me explain to you what that looks like.
Yeah.
I've been doing this 30 years. I think I've shown you some of the things that we do on the buyer side that are absolutely going to make a difference, because I'm going to make sure that you're represented in a way that's going to get you the best opportunity to find that dream home at the best possible price. Now, with that in mind, going into this, my job as a buyer's agent will be to negotiate on your behalf. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. Well, the next logical step is just to get this formalized. We'll have this agreement and we'll begin looking for that ideal house in a way that we haven't been able to yet.
I love it. So the thing I want to say to the person listening is, remember, if you've been on a Zoom with me, I keep saying, if you make it a big deal, it's a big deal. Right now, you need to explain agency. You need to explain like what it is you're going to do. So I'm not removing any of that, but a lot of it's going to be your energy. A lot of it's going to be the way you show up, right? So if you are like, oh my God, is anybody taking the time to share? Like, people are gonna be like, whoa, man, I just wanted to buy a house. Like, what's going on? I can't say the name, but this guy used to work with me a million years ago. And he calls me one day and he says, hey, I found a little, an opportunity in Laguna Beach. And I was like, oh, I buy, whatever, but I like real estate. So I'm like, yeah, I'd like to see it. I'm like, is it off market? He's like, yeah, it's off market. I'm like, even better. We get in the car, he picks me up. I remember clear as day. He's got a silver 380 SL, tops down. It's a nice day. Driving down the coast, stop at Penguin Cafe, have the worst coffee ever. It's one of those best coffee ever, right? Shout out to the Penguin Cafe in Laguna Beach. Everybody would know that place. And we get back in the car, Jimmy, and I said, okay, so tell me, so it's a fixer, right? It touches sand. It's got a 2-bedroom, 1 in the front. It's got a 2-bedroom, 2 in the back, like a little larger unit. Like, I could fix and flip this thing. I could hold this thing. I mean, I'm talking myself into buying the property, right? And he says, okay, he goes, just, before we do, man, you got to sign this. And he just slaps it. He slaps it in my lap and goes, you need to sign this. And I was like, what's that? He's like, well, this is just the agency agreement that says I'm representing you. I'm like, dude, we're friends. Like, that was awkward. It was a weird moment. Now, I wanted to see the property, so I signed the agreement, but I use it as the example all the time of a bad presentation. Take that to the guy that sold us our first house in the desert. We're sitting down with him in the MLS, and he's like, so tell me, Tom and Kathy, what are you guys looking for? Tell me the vision of this property. How often are you going to be out here? Is it kids? Is it great? Like, it's lifestyle. And like, the whole time he's just like, tell me what do you guys want to accomplish? And all of a sudden he goes like this. He goes, 374 Mockingbird Lane, 374 Mockingbird Lane. He goes, oh my God, let's go see your house. Who am I more likely going to sign an agreement with?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Ted Llewellyn was his name. He passed away. Unbelievable sales guy. Detail-oriented, contracts, unbelievable negotiator. But the way he showed up for clients was so special, so different. And everyone I knew in the community, I'm like, who'd you work with? They're like, Ted. Right? Like, Ted's the guy, right? So how do I do it in a way that doesn't scare people with attorneys? And,
absolutely.
Give me another one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So hey, we've really enjoyed working with you. So far it's been great. I mean, we're getting a little, tense. We want to get a house.
Yeah. And let me backtrack just real quick before we go into that, if you don't mind, because I think this is something that all agents should be doing right now also is, I think the great agents, they could shut their eyes. I mean, they could just give a listing presentation on lock right now.
Right.
It's critical right now to be able to communicate your value in a way. So it's a process that we're getting to. This is one of those we're doing a lot of, where we're doing one day. These folks that are coming in and say, hey, listen, we've got to have this signed. We're going to be able to show
one
you.
Day showing agreement.
And listen, this is an interview process for you and for me. Because we want to make sure it's a good fit for you as well as for us. So as we go through this at the end of this day, we're going to review this and just see if this makes sense for you and I to work together.
That's exactly what we've been teaching for all the Zillow, Realtor, homes, right? Like, you just like, hey, it's just a one-day agreement. I'm going to show you that property. By the way, if there's a few other properties that I find between now and the time I show it to you, would that be okay?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, cool. I'll make sure I add those in as well.
Hey, here's another thing. What you brought up about off-market properties. That's the critical difference right now. How are you going to separate yourself from that? So these are things like we do. We do once a month, we have all of our agents come together. We talk about off-market properties, buyer needs. We talk about coming soon listings as much as we can in our area. And so
gotta follow the rules.
That's exactly right. You got to follow the rules. But basically what this does is then when we're sitting down, we have the ability to say, hey, listen, just so you know, once a month, and we have an active email and a text chain where our agents share coming soon listings within the guidelines,
as
well as
inside your brokerage,
well as the off-market opportunities and buyer needs, so that we can connect. So as your buyer's agent, what I want to do is anybody can see what's on the MLS. Anybody's going to see what's on Zillow. My job is to understand your needs and your wants and your desires at a level where I'm constantly looking for that. The way that we do that is we have this meeting, we talk about those things. I find these off-market opportunities because a lot of times those off-market opportunities are going to be where the opportunity is for you. So I'm going to add some value in a different way than most people are going to do that.
Bingo.
And does this make sense to you?
Bingo. I take it one step further. I say, if you're really trying to articulate your value today, of course, off-market properties, the size of your brokerage, your agent-to-agent network, right? But the real degree of separation is, Jimmy, when there's absolutely nothing on the market, you're hiring somebody to go find you a home that currently isn't listed for sale.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to you about some of the campaigns that we've run and some of the success that we've had. And unlike many agents, I will actually put in writing in my agreement for you that I will go solicit up to 1,000 properties on your behalf in neighborhoods and price points that you are committed to. Like those, like that's the extra mile going, like I got Thinking Grow Rich, like right here, right? So go the extra mile. All right.
And listen, I mean, obviously you don't have to figure that out. I mean, you and Jimmy Mackin's done this.
Thank you. This is what we're doing with listing leads.
Literally. It's amazing. I mean, you just copy the letter.
Right.
You send that letter out. You make the phone calls. You do those things. And we've used it as, maybe not in the right way, but buyers as bait. I mean, listen, you're wanting to how you're going to get more listings right now. Find and work hard for that buyer.
Right.
You're going to uncover opportunities on the listing side as well.
So I was thinking about a client of mine. We sent a direct mail piece, and it was a hand addressed, hand stamped piece. But what we did is we assessed how many buyers he had for this community where there was no inventory, like 2,800 home subdivision, and literally no listings. You know, this is the $3 million price point. This is the like $800,000 price. But one of those kind of communities, right? So we wrote a letter that we said, we're currently representing 9 different buyers that want to desperately live in Irvine Terrace, and 4 of them want the 4-bedroom, right? 3 of them want this, 2 of them want this, and 1 of them wants this. Hand addressed, hand stamped. If this, I forget what the CTA was, something along the lines of like, if you're even remotely interested, we should have a conversation. It was one of those. Phone just blew up. Now, why? Hand address, hand stamped, no branding. Every broker gets mad when I say this, but I'm like, I don't want them to go real estate trash. I want them to go birthday cake. Who's inviting me to a party? Open it up and read the letter. Yeah,
no, it's absolutely, that's the critical part right now is they could care less right now, buyers and sellers. A lot of times they want to know what's in it for me.
Yeah.
So get to the point as quick as you can.
Bingo.
And the more personalized, this goes back to the unsolicited CMA. The reason why it was so effective is because when they get something that has their address in the subject line,
for sure,
they're going to click through.
Yeah.
So make it as personalized as you can. And the more personal it is, the more response you're going to get as well.
What do you think about the idea of taking, we're like totally transitioning into getting more listings for your buyers. You list a house, and the first thing you do is you print out, before it goes live in the MLS, you print out the old Zestimate.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And then the ultimate marketing piece is Zillow was wrong.
Yeah.
I listed this home on, whatever the date is. And on the backside and then we sold it in 9 days with this many offers and got them this much above their Zestimate. Would you be willing to sell your property for 7 to 10% higher than your Zestimate, print that thing out, and have a kid deliver one to every door in that neighborhood? Like, there's no shortage of ideas. Work ethic.
That's exactly what it is. It always is. Listen, there's not a lack of ideas from a standpoint. I mean, listen, they can listen to what you're doing. They can. Jimmy Mackin's putting a ton of stuff out. It's the real opportunity.
Yeah.
Is who's going to do the work. Mm-hmm. Because somebody's going to do it. Mm-hmm. I always tell people this, and this is the way I'll end things that I'm talking to people as well. I'll say somebody's going to have their best year ever.
Right.
Why not you?
Right.
But the ultimate reason why you're going to have your best year ever is because you're going to do things differently. You're going to work harder than you ever have. You're going to bring more value to the marketplace. Yep. You're going to sharpen your skills like never before. So somebody's going to have that best year. Why not?
Why not you?
Yeah.
We should end on that. You're a good man, Jimmy.
Thank you, brother.
I appreciate you, pal.
Yeah, thanks for everything.
Hey, make sure you give us some comments. Share this with someone that that needs to hear it. There'll be lots of clips coming out of this. Appreciate you always. See you soon.